Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Sea of Plunder. Sea of Plunder is going to be designed by Rusty Lumpkin, and it's published by Three Nail Games. In this game, you're playing as a merchant, and you're trying to get as much treasure as you can, but you have to beware of your fellow merchants and also the pirates roaming around the seas. Let's go ahead down to the table here. I'll give you a general idea how to play the game, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is Sea of Plunder. In Sea of Plunder, it's a treasure hunting game in which you're going to be a merchant ship and you're traveling the endless sea, racing to reach the mysterious treasure island, while at the same time dodging pirates, getting pushed around by hurricanes, gathering goods from the port islands, and stealing cargo from your fellow treasure hunters. The setup for the game is pretty easy. You're going to put all the goods out on the top there. You're going to put out each of the supplies for the compass, for the money, the treasure, and for the debt tokens. You'll put these dice out so everyone can reach. You'll go ahead and shuffle up this deck of cards here. You will then also place out the ships. You're going to place out a ship for each player. In this case, we have it set up for 4-player. You'll have the color ship matches the color of island. So purple, purple, green, green, and so on. You also place out the pirate ships. The pirate ships are going to go in the middle of each quadrant. You can tell this by the bold white border here. That'll be the place you're going to put the pirate ships, all 4 of them. And you're going to put a treasure island here out in the middle. For the players themselves, they're all going to get a cool power. So in this case, the blue player here has the navigator. When you use a magic compass, which is going to be these tokens right here, and each player is going to get one to start the game. You can get them throughout the game by different means, but here's the navigator. The navigator, whenever you use a compass token, you may then move your boat in this pattern instead of the pattern you're using. Learn to trust the journey even if you don't understand it. Alyssa Mara. All right, so that's the navigator. We also have a couple other roles here that are available. There's a gambler. At the end of the game, your debt value is cut in half, rounded down. So that's pretty cool. The strategist. At any time you come into contact with a pirate, if you roll a 8 through 13, you do not suffer any penalties. The smuggler. At the end of the game, you may pick an available good of your choice and add it to your hand. That's pretty good. The thief. Anytime you come into contact with another player, steal a card from their hand. The scallywag. You are the only player to start the game with a good. Odd Jane. Start the game with an extra card and magical compass. That's pretty cool. Lucky Jill. At the end of your turn, if your boat has not moved, you may move it. And there's how you can move it. So that's pretty cool. These are all cool asymmetric values, or asymmetric player powers. You'll also get your turn card here. So it goes over the turn structure, and there's one for each player. Get the color that matches your ship, so in this case blue. You're going to get 5 cards, and these 5 cards, when you're looking at them, they can't be one of these cards, which is going to be an island card, and they can't be one of these red event cards. If you see either of those pop up, set them aside, keep dealing cards till each player has 5 cards, then reshuffle those cards back in the deck. Each player will also, like I said, get a magic compass token, and they'll also get a good from their port. In this case, blue gets a blue one. All right, so the game is set up. Now you're ready to play. All right, so before we go over what you do on your turns, let's go over why you're doing things on your turn. So the game is going to end when a player's collected 3 or more treasures, or the pirates have collected 6 treasures. If either of those have occurred, the game will end, the round will finish, and you'll go into final scoring. Each treasure is going to be worth 3 points. Each unused magic compass token, which is these guys right here, is going to be worth 1 point. You'll receive negative points for debt tokens that are over here, and depending on the number of different types of goods, you're going to get points. So there's a chart in the back of the book that shows you. I think it might be on your player card too. No, but the way it works out is you're looking for sets of different types. So if you have set of, if you have one, you get 0 points. If you have a set of 2 different types, you get 3 points. 3 different types, 5 points. 4 different for 4 different types, 8 points. And person with the highest score is going to win the game. The tiebreakers are the person with the most magical compass is going to break the tie. The player with the most different types of goods is going to win. And then the player with the most treasures is going to win. And then roll a die, and the highest number wins. So there's not going to be any ties in the game. That's what you're going for. You're going for treasures. You're going for goods. And you're trying to not get these debt tokens. How do you get any of these? That's what we're going to go over now on what do you do on your turn. So on your turn, you're going to draw 2 cards. Now, when you draw 2 cards, actually in the setup, one of them should end up over here. When you draw 2 cards, you can draw 2 from the deck or 1 from the deck and 1 from the top of the discard pile if you wish. Those will go in your hand. Also, the good that you got in the beginning of the game will go into your hand. Then you're going to play a card. Then you're going to discard a card. So when you discard a card, you're going to move the pirate according to the card you discarded. So you're going to pick one of these pirates and they're going to move. All right, so let's go over each of those in a little bit more detail. So to draw 2 cards, if you draw an event card, so that's the one with these red borders here. So pull one up. So let's say we drew an event card. If we draw an event card, we'll set this aside and continue drawing until we have our 2 cards. Now, after we're done drawing, before we take our play a card action, we have to resolve this. So this card here, and it doesn't matter, you could have multiple. It's just keep drawing until you get 2 cards. So you could have multiple events that are all going to trigger. And that player is going to pick the order, but Parting Storms event occurs instantly. All players draw a card. That's it. So this will happen, and we'll get another card, which could also trigger more events to occur. So that's it. That's your draw phase. That's all you do. Now you get to play a card. So there's going to be a couple different cards that you can play throughout the game. So you have these movement cards, and they have to face this direction unless you use a magic compass, and you can rotate it how you want. But this will show you your starting location of your ship and then how it has to move. So if I played this movement one and I'm blue, that means I would have to go here, here, and then here. And that would be my movement if I did that. We're going to go over what, if you run into things, how that interaction goes in a second, but we're going to go over the other card types. If I pick this card here, I instantly transport to that island. And there's going to be 1 for each of the islands. And the last one you can do is going to be an action card. This one here, you can move up to 2 treasure islands, which there can be multiple treasure islands in the game according to your discard. So if discarded, you get to do that stuff. So you also have an action that you can do too. So here's another action too. Uncharted Waters, draw 1 card and play 2 more, discard as normal. So lots of cool things, and this can actually cause an event to occur too. There can be up to 3 treasure islands at any one time on the game. If you had to put another treasure island out and there's already 3, you can remove one and place a new one in that location. And to do placements of these things, you will roll both these dice. And if you ever roll a pirate, that treasure will immediately go, you'll have a treasure token immediately go to the pirate, and you'll re-roll for a new location on there. But these will give you your coordinates. So you have your blue here and your purple here, and you'll set your coordinates. So this one's letters, of course, because there are letters across the top, and this is numbers. So again, remember, the game's going to end if the pirates get 6 treasures, so you got to watch out for that. And you're trying to get your 3 treasures to end the game. So we're going to go back into movement in a second, but the last part is going to be discard a card. So remember, when you play a card in movement, there's a little bit more to it. But when we discard a card, depending on the card we discard, depends on how the pirate is going to move. So the most straightforward one is we just do a movement card. If we do a movement card, we can pick one of these pirates and we can have it move that way. So I can move it 1, 2, 3, like that if I wanted to, and sort of block the other player. If you discard one of the Port Island cards, I had one in my hand, I believe. If I discard one of the Port Island cards, the pirate will automatically teleport to that location. If I discard an action card, like one of these, I can just move the pirate in any one direction that I want. And that's going to be the pirate movements. Well, what happens if the pirate hits another player? So the way that's going to work, if at any point in time a player comes into contact with a pirate, they must then choose a good card in their hand to bribe the pirate and stop them from attacking the ship. The goods that you bribe the pirates with is returned to the original stack. If you don't have any goods, you will get a debt token. And these debt tokens are non-removable, so you will have -1 point forever. And if you get another one, you can just flip this to the other side and be -2. So you get a debt token if you don't have goods to pay for the pirates. And I will also mention that these decks are limited. There's only 4 goods of each type. Once those goods run out, there's no more of that good. So if you were supposed to get a good from landing on an island, which we'll go over in a second, you won't get it if there's none available. So that's basically what happens when you run into a pirate. They're going to steal one of your goods, or you're going to get a debt token. Now let's go back a little bit to the second part where you played a card and you did movement. Well, there's a couple different possible interactions that can occur from this. Okay, so possible interactions. If a player or pirate hits a treasure island, a couple different things happen. So if a pirate hits a treasure island, they will gain the treasure and a new treasure island will need to be placed out. If a player passes over a treasure island, so their movement passes over top of it, or they will collect a treasure. If they land directly on a treasure island or a treasure island is placed on where they're at, they will collect a treasure and draw 1 card. So either way, when a treasure is taken, a new treasure island will be placed out and you'll roll these dice. Remember, again, if you roll a skull, the treasure goes to the pirates. Otherwise, you'll use the coordinates to place another treasure island out. So the other thing that can happen is if you pass over another player, you'll draw 1 card from the deck. If you land directly on another player, you'll steal 1 card randomly from that player's hand, which is pretty cool. Pirates. If you come into a contact with a pirate, you return 1 good of your choice from your hand to its original stack, or you get a debt token. Port Island. If you come into contact with a port island, you will get a good of that corresponding color. Now remember that if we're out of that good, you don't get any. It's a finite amount. So keep that in mind for your strategy in the game. So that is all of the different interactions you're going to have when you move around the map. You're basically trying to maneuver yourself to be able to get these treasures first, stay away from the pirates, and maybe on your turn, if you're lucky enough, maneuver a pirate to another player or block them or whatnot. So just as a real quick recap, you have 3 things you do on your turn. You're going to draw 2 cards. You're going to draw until you don't get an event. Any events that you drew on your draw will be resolved before you play a card. Then you'll play your card. You'll resolve that. It's either going to be an action or an island. If it's an action, you do the action. If it's an island, you jump to the island. If it's a movement, you follow the movement. Now, any of these movement, you have to use the compass here, which matches the compass here, and that's the path that you have to take. However, you can use a magic compass token, returning it to the supply to rotate this how you want. So those are good for that. After that, you'll discard a card, and depending on how you discard your card, it's going to depend on how things get moved out the pirates on the board. If you discard a movement, the pirate of your choice simply uses that movement. If you discard an island card, the pirate jumps to the island. If you discard an action card, the pirate moves one direction, whatever way you want. And that is it. Everyone will continue until one player has got 3 treasures, or the pirates have got 6 treasures. You'll finish that round and you'll do your final scoring. The person with the most points ends. We already went over those tiebreakers. All right, so that's how to play this game in a nutshell, but I wanted to give a couple final notes here. One of the biggest notes in this game is going to be that this is an endless sea. So if you travel through here, you're going to come up through the other side of the board. So there is no end to this ocean. You'll just wrap around the board. Also, if you have any questions about any of the events or cards, there's a card list in the back of the manual there. You can go over each of the cards and it gives a better description of them. So if you have any questions, there's frequently asked questions on here. And there's also a couple different modes you can do. There's going to be the 2-player variant. There's just a little slightly different setup for that, but you can play this game 2-player. And there's going to be a random setup variant where you can use these islands here to randomly place them out on there, and you will randomly place you can randomly place the pirates, and you can randomly place the first treasure island out there. And there's also a combo port that you can use, and this has every single one of the goods. You just pick one of them when you hit it. This one also you can never go to, so you can't use the port cards to jump to this. It's just an island that has every single resource on it. So those are different variants in a really, really brief summary that you can use in this game. Let's go ahead back up the table here, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on Sea of Plunder. All right, so this is surprisingly a really fun game. I've played a lot of the lighter weight games out there, especially when they go with like a specific theme like pirates or Vikings or whatever, and found a lot of times they are lacking. However, this game itself is not. It is really fun, and this game actually really fits well as a great introduction as a kid's game. It gets them into some of the more modern mechanics, and it's a lot of fun. There is a lot of different strategy into which cards you're going to be playing, how you're going to do your movement, which cards are going to remain in your hand as time goes by so that you can get to those treasures. Also have a lot of player interaction with watching your opponents, how they're moving. Also trying to stay away from those pirate ships because those opponents are trying to move that pirate ship onto you, but also trying to trick your opponents into moving into a position where you can nail them with the pirate. There is a lot of really cool strategies that you can employ in this game, and a lot of different things to think about, especially with the set collection, because it's so limited. There's only 4 per island, so you have to balance out, like, do I want to go for goods now and get up to that 8 bonus points or more just on that? Maybe I just, like, it's only 3 points per gold. So do I want to, you know, let them fight it out for the treasures out there and just get the goods? But then I have to see what the opponents are doing, and maybe they're just going for the goods, and maybe I should run and try to end the game real quick by getting the treasures as fast as possible. Lots of different ways that this game can like progress, and the different game feel that you get based on the player's decision during the game. So there's a lot of replayability in the game, just in like what strategies each player is going to do, how are you going to counteract those strategies that they're employing to be able to potentially win yourself. Like the game a lot. Also like that this game is super easy to teach. Like I saw in the overview, really easy to teach and get people into the game. Super easy to set up. Everything's great about this game in that manner. I can set it up and I can teach it to you in like 6 minutes flat, and you can be in and having fun with the game. Really appreciate it for that. Component quality in the game is good. The card quality is good. So all that's great. I'm going to probably sleeve these cards because, you know, it's not like those linen finish cards that'll last, you know, for eternity. And I feel that this game is going to come out a bit, especially since I have some younger kids, and they're going to love playing this game, I believe, because, you know, it's a great piratey theme. It's a very engaging game. So if you're looking for a lighter weight pirate style game that's going to be great to play with your family, but yet have enough in it that you can play with regular gamers, I would highly recommend checking out Sea of Plunder. And that's my thoughts on it. Thank you for watching.